Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. Backfiring activism, that is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. Hardcore Democratic activists are threatening to overwhelm the rest of the party. They disrupt peaceful events, make threats, and cause violence. This week we saw a teenager attacked for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. That teen's going to join me later for an exclusive interview. On July 4th in Lower Manhattan, Americans were sightseeing with their families, celebrating our independence and preparing to watch the fireworks. Suddenly, a radical African immigrant activist began scaling the Statue of Liberty. The woman, part of the Trump resistance movement, refused to come down. Police and firemen were deployed. The entire Liberty Island, filled with 4,000 tourists, was evacuated. The statue was closed. 3,000 visitors were turned away on the monument's busiest day of the year because one selfish individual didn't agree with President Trump's immigration policy. And after a 4-hour standoff, she was arrested. Therese Okomo, born in the Congo, was slapped with a few misdemeanor charges. She's probably not even going to spend a day in jail. Now, after costing the city tax dollars and man-hours, diverting valuable police resources from fighting real crime and ruining thousands of Americans' visit to the Statue of Liberty on July 4th, President Trump weighed in at a rally earlier in Montana.
You saw that clown yesterday on the Statue of Liberty? I would have said, let's get some nets and let's wait till she comes down. Just get some nets, really.
This self-centered stunt artist has a wacky past. She's filed several seemingly frivolous racial discrimination lawsuits against various entities. She had run-ins with neighbors. She's been slapped with nearly $5,000 in fines by the Department of Sanitation. She's also been arrested for trespassing and assaulting a police officer. And following her release from jail this week, Okomo said she was inspired by Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, our beloved First Lady that I care so much about, said when they go low, we go high, and I went as high as I could. Trump has wrecked this country apart. Nothing you can say to me will justify putting children in cages. Only a stupid, unintelligent, coward, and insecure, I will add a maniac, will rip a tender-aged child from its mother.
First of all, I don't think Michelle Obama wants your endorsement. Second, the photo of a child in a cage, that image she's talking about, was from 2014. The Obama administration did that. Trump didn't put that kid in a cage. Fake news is now causing real rage. We all want families to stay together, so let's all work together to achieve that goal while at the same time protecting our border and protecting children from fake parent human smugglers. And radical Democrat activist tactics have turned regular Americans against their party and their cause. You'll remember Black Lives Matter protesters disrupted the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade while parents were celebrating the holiday with their young kids. Occupy Wall Street protesters who wanted higher income for workers shut down traffic in Detroit so people couldn't commute to work on time and earn their income. Left-wingers who were screaming about Trump's rhetoric on Muslims and immigrants caused mayhem during his inauguration and firebombed a limo owned by a Muslim immigrant. Idiots. Democrats protested an ICE raid in Oakland.
ICE is not welcome in this country. HSI is not welcome.
We're going to fight back. We're not going to let people just disappear like this.
Turns out ICE was conducting a raid on human sex traffickers. Democrats actually rallied against this. You can't make this stuff up. So after the family separation controversy at the border and all the recent street action by Maxine Waters' left-wingers, Trump's approval rating is up with Hispanics. It's up 10 points. This according to a Harvard-Harris poll released just a few days ago. Amazing, isn't it? And now the most important issue determining people's votes in the midterms, immigration, largely driven by Republican enthusiasm. So Democrats your radical tactics are backfiring. Be careful what you wish for. Here to react, 2012 Republican presidential candidate and Fox News contributor, Herman Cain. So, Mr. Cain, what would you have done with that woman that scaled the Statue of Liberty if you were in charge?
Well, I would have waited until she got hungry enough and thirsty enough to voluntarily come down. The human body can only take so much hunger and thirst, and I would have just waited her out.
Just waited her out and starved her out. But then they
Yes.
wouldn't have been able to go up and tour the Statue of Liberty. Everyone wouldn't have been able
Exactly.
to visit.
You're right. That whole incident, Jesse, was just another example of, and I know these words are harsh, another example of the ignorant narrative of abolish ICE. It's ignorant because most people who are claiming they want to abolish ICE, they have no idea what ICE does. 1/3 of ICE's activities revolve around immigration and the border. 2/3 revolve around fighting crime, drugs, sex trafficking, and a whole lot of other things. They have no idea.
You're
So
exactly
they are
right. And we
basically
just
following a narrative.
And
Yes.
we just showed that video of those protesters. They actually were protesting an ICE raid on a human sex trafficking ring
Yes.
in the interior of the country, in Oakland, California, or north of the southern border. They don't get it, and it's these people that are turning regular Americans against their cause. We saw that with Black Lives Matter when they were
Yes.
disrupting things. We saw that with Occupy Wall Street. All of these little protest movements, they start off, righteous cause against police brutality. They want higher wages, but their tactics are so rude and disrespectful. These are now movements are so marginalized that no one takes them seriously anymore.
You're absolutely right. In the case of abolish ICE, Jesse, I don't even call it a movement yet. It is simply an ignorant narrative. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they're falling for it because I don't believe that these protests are spontaneous. I believe that they're manufactured. And in order to have a manufactured protest or multiple protests across the country, somebody is paying somebody to make it happen, and maybe even some of the protesters. I'm just saying.
You're exactly right, because I looked into this, and the Resist Trump, or what, Rise and Resist, whatever this woman's group was, if you go down to the bottom, below what they stand for, there's a little donation thing from Act Blue. And Act Blue is this big kind of mainstream media, mainstream Democrat, financial clearinghouse where they run all the donations through. And I looked into what Resist and Rise, or whatever it is, stands for. They want to get rid of nukes. They want to get rid of Sean Hannity. They idolize Stormy Daniels. They're for kneeling during the national anthem, and they want to oust the Trump regime, whatever that means, Mr. Cain.
It's called anarchy. Anarchy begins with creating as much violence, disruption, and distortion in the society as you possibly can. But here's the good news, Jesse. A lot of people are responding to the narrow lens of the media, as I described.
Yep.
They put the narrow lens of the liberal media on all of these fringe protest activities, people climbing up to the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Yep.
That does not represent America. The numbers you quoted
Sure
earlier
doesn't.
about President Trump's approval rating going up with Hispanics, they're going up with everybody. Why? Because real people with real sense aren't falling for this malarkey. That is the good news in the middle of all of this chaos.
Yes, America is resisting the resistance. Mr. Cain,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Happy to be with you, Jesse.